The air inside the Los Angeles County Courthouse was thick, stagnant, almost suffocating. The gallery was packed, whispers bouncing off the cold marble walls as spectators leaned in to watch. At the defendant's table, a young man stood beside his chair, hands in his pockets, chin lifted just enough to show he wasn't afraid. Jalen Dawson, 19, accused of grand theft auto and resisting arrest. The charges were serious, but the way Judge Walter Grayson looked at him made it clear. This trial wasn't just about the law. It was about something else. Grayson reclined in his chair, fingers tapping lazily against polished wood. He peered over the rim of his glasses, his lips curving into something between a smirk and a sneer. "You think you're some kind of legal expert?" he asked dryly. "This isn't a debate club, kid." Laughter rippled through the courtroom. The bailiff, the stenographer, even the prosecutor smirked. They were all in on the joke. But Jalen didn't flinch. He wasn't laughing. He'd spent years preparing for this, not this exact moment, but something like it. While other kids memorized basketball stats, Jalen memorized case law. While his friends played video games, he played out mock trials in his head. His mother, Denise Dawson, had worked as a paralegal for over 20 years. Jalen grew up on legal briefs and courtroom war stories about prosecutors cutting corners, judges playing favorites, defense attorneys sleepwalking through trials. By 14, he could analyze a courtroom better than most law students. But to Judge Grayson, he was just another black kid in trouble. "Let's make this quick," Grayson sighed, flipping open the case file. "I've got a tea time at 2. The gallery chuckled again, but this time something shifted. Jalen's lips twitched, just slightly, because Grayson had made his first mistake, and no one had noticed yet. The prosecutor, Mitchell Carrington, rose with the confidence of a man who'd already won. His tailored suit hugged his frame perfectly, his tie sharp, his voice smooth. "Your Honor," he began, "the state will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the defendant, Jalen Dawson, was caught red-handed inside a stolen 2022 Audi A6. The vehicle had been reported missing just hours earlier. Officers pursued the suspect through downtown. When apprehended, his fingerprints were found on the steering wheel. The evidence speaks for itself." The gallery murmured again. On the surface, it sounded damning. Judge Grayson nodded. "Go on." Carrington paced toward the jury box, shoes clicking with each step. "The defense may try to spin this as a misunderstanding, but let's be honest." He turned, locking eyes with Jalen. "What kind of victim runs from the police?" Tension thickened like wet cement. The arresting officer, Daniel Ruiz, saw the defendant behind the wheel. His report is clear. The arrest was made by the book. Grayson leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand. "Sounds straightforward to me." For most people in the room, it probably did. But Jalen had studied too many trials not to see the cracks. He said nothing, just waited. Grayson tapped his gavel. "Let's hear the defense." Jalen's public defender, Lisa Thornton, stood slowly, uncertain, uncomfortable. But before she could speak, Jalen placed a steady hand on her arm. She paused, then sat back down. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The bailiff blinked. Carrington let out a short, sharp laugh. "This should be fun." But no one was laughing when Jalen stepped forward, because everything was about to change. The room hushed as Jalen took center stage. Hands still in his pockets, he let the silence hang, just long enough to make them uncomfortable. Then he spoke. "Your Honor, before I begin, I'd like to confirm something with the prosecution." Carrington raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead." You said Officer Ruiz personally witnessed me behind the wheel of the car. That's in his report? That's correct. Jalen turned to the judge. Then I move to dismiss his testimony. Grayson squinted. On what grounds? Jalen pulled his hands from his pockets and pointed toward the prosecution table. Because Officer Ruiz wasn't even on duty when the chase began. Confusion flickered across Carrington's face. I'd like the court to subpoena Officer Ruiz's GPS logs from that night, Jalen said. If his report is truthful, his location should confirm it. But I have a feeling it won't. Murmurs surged through the gallery. Carrington bristled. Your Honor, we're not about to take the word of a defendant over a trained officer. If the officer was where he claimed to be, the GPS will prove it, Jalen said simply. If he wasn't, then the testimony is perjury. Grayson eyed Carrington. Any objection to verifying the logs? Carrington hesitated, just long enough for everyone to notice. No objections, Your Honor. But the damage was done. The courtroom wasn't laughing anymore. The prosecution also mentioned my fingerprints were found on the steering wheel, Jalen said. That's true. Carrington looked up, hopeful. But Jalen wasn't finished. But let's talk about how they got there. He addressed the jury, calm and clear. Imagine trying on a jacket at a department store. You zip it up, put your hands in the pockets, then put it back. Hours later, someone steals it. Should your fingerprints make you a suspect? He paused. The jurors shifted. That Audi was parked outside a 7-Eleven the day it was stolen. I was there, with friends. We walked past it. I leaned on the car, opened the door. It was already unlocked. Dumb, sure, but not theft. He looked back at Grayson. And the forensic specialist who analyzed those prints, were they subpoenaed? Grayson glanced at Carrington, who stiffened. No, Your Honor. So the state is using forensic evidence they don't want questioned? Grayson exhaled, clearly annoyed, but not with Jalen. And finally, Jalen said, I'd like to enter a statement from the vehicle's owner into evidence. Grayson blinked. The owner? Jalen nodded. Raymond Whitaker. He told officers, some kid took my car, but it wasn't the guy you arrested. I saw the kid. He was white. A collective gasp. Carrington stepped forward. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. No, it's not. Jalen cut in. The prosecution hid this because it doesn't fit their story. But it's in the original report. He turned to the jury, letting the silence stretch again. I was arrested blocks from where the car was abandoned. I wasn't in it. I wasn't near it. I was walking home with snacks. He looked directly at Judge Grayson. This case isn't about facts. It's about assumptions. About a system that doesn't ask questions when the suspect looks like me. The courtroom was still. Grayson adjusted his glasses, looked at Carrington. Anything further? Carrington's voice was thin. No, Your Honor. Grayson exhaled. Case dismissed. The room exploded. Some gasped. Some cheered. Some just sat, stunned. Jalen didn't move. He let the weight of the moment settle. Judge Grayson watched him, something new in his eyes. Maybe respect. Maybe regret. Mr. Dawson, the judge called as Jalen reached the door. Jalen stopped. You should consider law school. Jalen smirked. He didn't need to consider it. He was already on his way. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. Jalen ignored them. His mother, Denise, stood at the bottom of the courthouse steps. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at him. Then finally, she pulled him into a hug. You scared me half to death, she whispered. Jalen smiled. Had to take a risk, Ma. Across the street, Judge Grayson stood by his car, watching. The arrogance was gone. In its place, reflection. Because today, the system had been forced to look at itself. And for once, it blinked first.